other boys wrapped around your finger.
Come on, give me a hug. You really filled out.
So in the past, I did feel very ashamed and embarrassed of my need for male attention. I kind of judged myself, and I didn't really appreciate the cultural context, the idea that women from such a young age are taught that this is how you feel validated. If men find you attractive, you are worthy of existing in this society, of being celebrated. You are a successful woman if men fancy you. Do you seek male attention to feel good about yourself? Do you kind of use it to validate your existence? Do you have so much to offer, but constantly find yourself trying to look good for men? Being attractive, being beautiful is a tiny part of who you are, but sometimes it's really easy to make it everything you are. Cassie from Euphoria is a perfect example of this. Cassie loses her sense of self trying to impress Nate. She leans entirely on her appearance. It's clear that in her head, her most important asset is her looks. As she grows up, we see boyfriends, her family, her friends, all kind of celebrating her for one thing, and that is her appearance, being beautiful.
You are literally the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
I can really relate to Cassie because not long ago in my kind of college years, I put attracting men at the centre of my life. This is because I felt like attracting men was like my best skill. And this isn't coming from a big-headed place at all. I was the most insecure I'd ever been at this time in my life. And nobody apart from my parents reassured me that my skills elsewhere were far more important and something to be celebrated. I felt like everyone kind of just wanted me to be this version of Alessia, which wasn't really me at all. Maintaining good friendships and achieving an education just didn't really feel feasible to me. It kind of felt easier to focus on attracting men. When people constantly jump to celebrate you for your looks,
You're perfect.
it's very easy to dismiss your talents and the things that make you you, your inner qualities. When all the compliments are directed at your exterior, it's very easy to doubt your interior. It's very easy to doubt your social skills, your sense of fun, your personality. When people are constantly complimenting your appearance, they don't really want to hear what you have to say about the world. They don't really take you seriously also because if you're pretty, you can't also be intelligent. So if people really pay attention to your looks and that's where you receive the positive feedback, it's normal to then put a lot of emphasis on maintaining that image and leveling up that image because you've learned that's what people like about you. That's what makes you appealing. Cassie kind of prioritizes romantic situations over her friendships. And as I've seen, lots of people have jumped on Twitter to kind of hate on Cassie, her character, for doing this. But I massively feel for her because she quite clearly has low self-esteem issues. In her eyes, her only value is her sex appeal. And this is no way to feel because pretty girls are always around the corner. That makes you feel disposable. If your looks are your main selling point or the only thing that you think you've got to bring to the table, then that's a very scary place to be. Because as soon as the next pretty girl walks in, you doubt your entire value. Okay, now we're getting on to the main part of the video, how to avoid doing a Cassie, how to avoid making male validation the kind of centre of your existence, how to avoid losing your sense of self, how to stop leaning on your looks to feel validated. Tip number 1. If you want to feel good about yourself, male validation is a short-term solution that could leave you feeling worse in the long run because it may lead you to ditching friends, and kind of losing track of who you are and what you stand for. You may, as a result of trying to attract men, distance yourself from the things that you love and the things that genuinely make you feel alive and warm and excited. This is why you should turn to the true love of your life, you. Instead of looking for other people to give you attention, for men to give you attention, give it to yourself. So in my case, I've kind of enriched myself with new knowledge and then off the back of that knowledge cultivated something that I'm really passionate about. My YouTube channel. It's so cool doing these YouTube videos because young me would have really benefited from seeing these kind of videos. So what I'm trying to say is my YouTube channel is a way of kind of healing myself, working on myself, but also speaking about the things I'm passionate about that I want to change about the world. And that is my passion project. So maybe you've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, start a YouTube channel. Maybe you've always wanted to make hair accessories. Whatever it is, just start up that passion project, start working on you and your ideas, the things that have always been bubbling away in your head that you've always wanted to try, but you've kind of not done it because, you know, people might judge me, but also because you've never really given yourself and your passions and ideas and hobbies the time because you don't feel like they're worthy of being shown to the world. But they are so important and you should show them to the world because they're going to make people feel really good if there's something that you deeply care about and there's something you're going to put so much energy and authentic passion into. So whatever it is, put your heart and soul into it. YouTube, my YouTube, in a way, it's a celebration of me as a woman and my ideas. Even though you lovely people comment all the time and that's super validating, the most validating thing is that I'm putting out my ideas that have come from within, from me. Substitute that kind of male attention with your own attention to your own desires and creations and ideas and passions. Start creating. This might feel really unnatural in the beginning, giving yourself the attention as opposed to waiting for others to give you the attention. And perhaps this is something you need to work on. Maybe this is something you've struggled with. Maybe you need to ask yourself, do I only feel worthy of attention if it comes from others, not when I give it to myself? This is something that I've had to self-reflect on a lot. YouTube has kind of transformed the game for me. It's kind of allowed me to pay attention to what's going on in here, and putting it out there on a weekly basis is very kind of validating, self-validating, which is the most profound form of validation in my opinion, and the one that we kind of want to rely on. We don't want to rely on other people validating us because they can suddenly turn around and be like, I'm not going to validate you anymore. I would also say that working on my passion projects has helped my relationships, romantic ones as well as platonic relationships, because I put all my energy into my passion projects. They feel like a real sum up of what I have to give to the world. This is super empowering and this really helps affirm your worth, and it really helps you see the value you have to bring. And when you value yourself, you have more self-respect, and that means in relationships, you know what you stand for, you know what you have to bring to the relationship, so you don't feel like you constantly have to prove that to other people. There is nothing worse than constantly feeling like you have to prove why you're worthy of being with. There's nothing worse than doubting why your partner's with you. So yeah, my YouTube is something I'm proud of, and having this trumps any form of male validation. Take your sex life quite literally into your own hands. Okay, so stop seeking attention from men and give it to yourself instead by means of using a vibrator. Women are so often adjusting themselves to fit other people's ideas of desirability, and this often leads in unsatisfying, rubbish sex and a lack of connection with yourself. Pleasuring yourself is a deeply powerful, empowering act that actually is a superpower that we can tap into. Quite literally. Giving yourself joy by means of masturbating is a really loving act, and this is a really deeply loving act, as opposed to a man looking at you and complimenting you for your appearance. That's quite a shallow loving act, and that won't hit you deeply. I think if you are really desiring male validation, you are struggling with kind of establishing a sense of independence, of reassuring yourself, of being your own kind of cheerleader. If you establish independence, you kind of distance yourself from needing validation from anyone. Establishing some independence can be achieved by masturbating, by not relying on anyone else to satisfy you sexually. So explore, focus on satisfying your cravings and desires. Pleasuring yourself is a beautiful act. Pop down to Boots, buy yourself a vibrator. Don't feel any shame in doing that. Women are just as much worthy of pleasuring themselves as men. I know we're not taught that, we're taught that men can do that and it's a good thing and it's normal, but women doing that's gross. That's not true. All humans deserve to feel good and to feel sexually good if that's what they want. And women are humans. Women are dehumanized so often. I think the idea that women can't pleasure themselves is such a dehumanizing notion, because seeking sexual pleasure is such a natural desire for so many humans. So masturbating is a great act of self-love, and I think this is a great substitute for male attention, for male adoration. So I don't know if you've noticed, but in both tips, I've basically told you to stop focusing on male attention and basically look inwards. So following a dream by creating a passion project like my YouTube, or masturbating are just two ways of paying attention to yourself. There are many other ways that you can do this, that you can tap into this, that maybe might feel easier to you to begin with. So maybe you might want to start with something a little bit easier like exercising, and then build up to the scarier things. So in the past, I did feel very ashamed and embarrassed of my need for male attention. I kind of judged myself, and I didn't really appreciate the cultural context, the idea that women from such a young age are taught that this is how you feel validated. If men find you attractive, you are worthy of existing in this society, of being celebrated. You are a successful woman if men fancy you. It's not your fault, is what I'm trying to say. If you're stuck in this kind of rut of seeking male validation, of going clubbing and trying to appeal to men, and you don't really know how to get out of it, just please don't judge yourself. It's not your fault. I've been there. I still struggle with it a bit, but I've massively taken a step back. We live in a sexist, shallow world that wants women to be objects of male desire. Women don't just wake up one day and decide that they want men to find them attractive. It's something that's kind of taught to us as we grow up. It's something we see in movies and on TV. It's something we learn on the playground at school. If people don't find us attractive, we learn that that makes us unworthy. It's all conditioning. At the end of the day, we all just want to feel loved, and that's just where this is stemming from. It's stemming from a desire to be appreciated and cared for and loved. And it's quite hard in a sexist, shallow society, as I've already said. It's quite hard being a woman. It's this kind of endless, tiring battle to look a certain way to achieve male validation. And that's just, it's an empty promise anyway, because it's never going to make you feel deeply good and deeply satisfied. What is going to make you feel deeply good and satisfied is looking after yourself and listening to your own little unique interests and desires and acting upon them. I know we live in a capitalist world, which makes it hard to focus on your passion projects because you're having to earn money, maybe in a job you don't like. But instead of scrolling through Instagram, work on making a YouTube video, or work on sewing and making that clothing line you want to make. If you want to change things, it is hard, but you can do it. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes breaking patterns of behaviour, but you can get there. You will be able to validate yourself. Please subscribe, come back to my channel, Alessia Sothebyberry. I would love to do another video like this, so please comment a woman that I can talk about in another video if you liked this. I was actually thinking Regina George.